Chapter 845. Beijing, Zicheng Garden. It was midnight, but the light in the study room was still on, and the coffee on the table was no longer warm. Lu Chen leaned on the chair, holding the mouse in his right hand, staring at the computer screen in front of him, thinking. The time on the lower right corner of the screen showed that it was October 2nd, 0:25. Usually, unless it was necessary for work, Lu Chen wouldn't stay up late. Although his body was at its peak, he needed to develop good habits at a young age, or he would regret it in the future. But today was different. He was waiting for the box office of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer to be released on the first day. Because there was a certain delay in the statistics of the national cinema ticket sales system, the box office of October 1st would only be released after midnight the next day. It was almost midnight, and the phone beside the computer hadn't rung yet. But Lu Chen didn't lack the patience, and he wasn't lonely, because he had thousands of fans to accompany him. Although it was midnight, the main fan group of Lu Chen's support group was still very lively. A large number of fans were enthusiastically discussing The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, that had just been released. It was so wonderful. It was definitely worth the ticket price. I'm going to watch it again tomorrow. Ah, Lu Chen's Ling Hu Chong is so handsome, and Chen Fei's ancient costume is so beautiful. I love it so much. How do you think the martial arts fighting was filmed? Special effects? I can't see it at all. This is a real martial arts film. The previous ones were all bullshit. I like the theme song very much, but why wasn't it sung by Lu Chen? Theme song praise +1. These fans who were discussing in full swing probably didn't even think that their favorite idol was quietly lurking in the group, paying attention to their comments. Lu Jiejun's main fan group had hundreds of QQ groups, and Lu Chen had a sock puppet in them. When he was free, he would log in to have a look and communicate with other fans as an ordinary fan, and he could get a lot of useful information from them. Sometimes, when Lu Chen learned about the questions that many fans were concerned about, he would answer them on his blog, thereby shortening the distance between him and his fans. When it came to his fans, Lu Chen didn't dare to say that he was the most important person among all the celebrities, but he never neglected them. He couldn't help but smile when he saw the fans' comments in the group chat. In order to shoot the Smiling, Proud Wanderer series, and for the Wuxia IP project, he had been preparing for nearly 2 years. He had invested hundreds of millions of yuan and put in countless efforts and painstaking efforts. What he wanted was to achieve a new peak in his life and career, and to leave his real mark in this world. On a smaller scale, it was the recognition and love of the fans. No matter how the others mocked and ridiculed him, it didn't matter to Lu Chen at all. Whether the fans liked him or not was the key to success. Although the box office of the first day hadn't come out yet, the fans' reputation had exploded. So even if the box office of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer didn't reach the expected goal, it wouldn't be a failure. He could openly say that the movie he made was worthy of the movie tickets paid by his fans. The results haven't come out yet? A gentle and sweet voice came from behind, and then a pair of white jade-like arms gently wrapped around his neck. Lu Chen turned around and held the beauty in his arms, and said, "It's not out yet. You're not sleeping?" Chen Fei, who was wearing pink pajamas, whispered, "I can't sleep without you." Although she was a few years older than Lu Chen, she was still as lovely as a young girl in Lu Chen's arms. Lu Chen smiled. "It should be out soon." Ring ring ring. As soon as he finished speaking, the phone on the table suddenly rang, which startled both of them. Lu Chen was stupefied and immediately reacted. He reached out and grabbed his cell phone. "Hello?" It was Lu Shi who called him. At this moment, Lu Shi was at the headquarters of Chenfei Media. She cared about the box office of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer on the first day as much as Lu Chen, and even more. On the phone, her voice was very cheerful. "The box office is out, 49.2 million. Nearly 50 million on the first day." Lu Chen couldn't help clenching his fist and waving it hard. Although the domestic movie market was huge, and the box office was also one of the best in the world, there were many movies with a box office of over 100 million on the first day. 50 million was not a particularly outstanding result. But it was really not easy for the Sword of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer to get such a result. It had to know that it faced strong competition from Hollywood action blockbusters. The production cost of Ace Agent was several times that of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, and the number of showtimes it received was also much higher. The most important thing was that because of the failure of several similar martial arts blockbusters in the summer, it brought a bad reputation in the market. It was gratifying that Sword of Mount Hua could get a good start under such circumstances. This also proved the necessity of Chinfei Media to spend tens of millions on publicity. Lu Chen suppressed his excitement and asked, "Then how much is the box office of Ace Agent?" He was also concerned about the situation of his opponent. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. The battle of the box office had just begun. Lu Shi answered, "It's higher than ours, a little more than 67 million. It was normal to be higher, but it was less than 20 million, which was about the same as the actual number of showtimes." Lu Chen was confident and said, "Well, we have to pay more attention to the publicity. We have to invest all the money we need, we can't save it." With a good start, he naturally had to strike while the iron was hot. He was very confident about The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, but if he wanted to get more recognition from the audience and attract them to buy tickets, he couldn't stop investing in the publicity. It was like rolling a snowball. At the beginning, he had to push it hard. When the snowball got bigger and bigger, he could rely on inertia to roll it down, and it would get bigger and bigger. The snowball of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer had just started to roll. "Don't worry, I have already arranged the follow-up publicity," Lu Shi said. "You should rest early, don't stay up late, you still have to participate in the publicity tomorrow." Lu Chen smiled and said, "I know, you should rest early too." After ending the call with his sister, Lu Chen hugged Chen Fei and kissed her. "It's done, let's kiss." Chen Fei giggled and turned her head away. "You haven't brushed your teeth yet." Lu Chen smiled and kissed Chen Fei on the cheek, then carried her and rushed to the bedroom. It was time to celebrate. Chapter 846. Beijing, Great Wall Guild Hall. The Great Wall Guild Hall was a special place in Beijing where more than half of the domestic entertainment circle gathered. This club was one of the earliest private clubs in the country, but it was basically not open to the public. It adopted an invitation-only membership system, and only those who were invited were qualified to become members. Most of the people invited were the upper class in the entertainment, media, and art circles, as well as celebrities and stars. For the famous people in the Beijing entertainment circle, the membership of the Great Wall Guild Hall was their proof of identity. The Great Wall Guild Hall was also an excellent place for them to socialize. And the topics they talked about were related to the current film and entertainment industry. 49, 2 million. In a private room of the Great Wall Guild Hall, a group of people were drinking tea and chatting. Someone soon mentioned the first song of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, which had just been released yesterday. The box office on the first day inevitably aroused everyone's interest. This group of people included the directors of film companies, directors of entertainment agencies, popular film stars, well-known freelancers, and even executives in the IT industry. Lu Xingda, the general manager of Wanhao Pictures, was one of them. Hearing the first-day box office of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, he couldn't help but raise his thick eyebrows and a trace of haze flashed in his eyes. As a person in the entertainment circle, and a person of high status, Lu Xingda certainly knew that The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was officially released yesterday, but he really didn't want to pay attention to it. Because as a martial arts film, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer easily reminded him of his big failure a few months ago. Big Lu Xingda promoted the project of Young Jianghu, the first martial arts film in the country, which cost nearly 300 million to produce and advertise. The box office in the end barely exceeded 400 million. There was no hope for him to make a profit, which made him lose face in the entertainment circle. Although Young Pugilistic World didn't suffer a lot of losses because of the Wanhao cinemas, it was much better than The New 7 Heroes and 5 Gallants and Pugilistic World Wanderer. However, it still poured a bucket of cold water on the ambitious Lu Xingda. The failure of the film had affected his authority in Wanhao Pictures, and he hadn't fully recovered yet. It was also a scar in his heart that couldn't be touched. But no matter how unwilling Lu Xingda was, he couldn't stop others from talking about it. After all, the smiling, the proud wanderer was absolutely inescapable. God knew how many people in the entertainment circle were watching it. Less than 50 million? The young man sitting next to Lu Xingda sneered and said, "It's good enough that Qinfei Media can recover the cost. If I were Lu Chen, I would interrupt the shooting of the next 2 films. Otherwise, the more I shoot, the more I will lose." This young man was the CEO of a new media company. He was a family friend of Lu Xingda. The two sides had a deep cooperative relationship. He knew very well what Lu Xingda was thinking at this moment. For a domestic movie, a box office of nearly 50 million on the first day was already very good, but the smiling, proud wanderer had invested hundreds of millions, spent tens of millions on promotion, plus the appeal of Lu Chen and other superstars. Such a result could be said to be a failure. Jianghu film Jianghu movie had made Jianghu Circle office, which famous, but film, Jianghu, made, of Heroes fan had mo time. Jianghu of Lu, who made film of Heroes first box was Lu. Young World Jianghu. World. The first day's box office earnings of 49.2 million was the best proof. Someone immediately echoed, "Yeah, the smiling, proud wanderer is competing against Superstar Pictures' action blockbuster. I think Lu Chen is going to suffer a big loss this time. I heard that the total budget he set for the smiling, proud wanderer trilogy is 500 million, and most of the funds came from Qinfei Media." Everyone here was basically in the entertainment circle, and they were well informed. They had a good understanding of the smiling, proud wanderer, so they were able to talk about it. Lu Xingda sighed, "Jianghu is really not a good theme. Even I was fooled. Now that I think about it, I was too impulsive. I thought I could create a new genre for domestic movies. Innovation is not that easy." He was exposing his own shortcomings. But with the smiling, proud wanderer as a foil, he didn't feel much pressure. He even felt lucky, at least Jianghu's circle didn't lose too much money. Yeah, everyone nodded. Speaking of domestic movies, there were 3 main types of popular movies: youth idol movies, comedy movies, and IP derivative movies. Jianghu movies could also be included in the category of IP derivative movies. Several movies were adapted from popular Jianghu novels, but they were definitely new genres, so the risk was relatively high. The road to innovation was never easy. Even Hollywood wouldn't easily try new genres, especially blockbusters with high investment. For example, the action movie Ace Agent was completely a product of Hollywood's entertainment assembly line. It was the most typical popcorn movie, and it easily crushed the smiling, proud wanderer in the box office. The smiling, proud wanderer was released on National Day, which was relatively less competitive. It still couldn't avoid the impact from Hollywood movies, so its failure was almost foreseeable. No one can always succeed, the young CEO of the new media company said. It's time to break Lu Chen's legend of invincibility. I just hope he won't lose too badly this time. After all, he is still very talented. Anyone could hear the schadenfreude in his tone, and those who knew the inside story knew that this new media company once wanted to cooperate with Qinfei Media, but they were rejected by the latter, so everyone understood. But he also said what many people were thinking, and some of them smiled knowingly. Yes, no one could always succeed, and Lu Chen was no exception. At this time, someone asked, "Speaking of which, who here has seen this movie?" The private room suddenly became silent, and everyone looked at each other. There were many small circles in the Pan-Entertainment circle. Their circle was different from the circle of Qinfei Media, so no one had attended the premiere of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, and they didn't go to the cinema yesterday. It was more or less embarrassing, but soon someone changed the topic, and the atmosphere became lively again. In fact, it didn't matter whether they watched it or not. Could this movie turn the world upside down? Lu Xingda didn't believe it, and neither did the others. Chapter 847. On the 1st of October, the first song of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, was released nationwide, and the box office on the first day was $49.2 million. This result didn't cause much reaction in the industry, because The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer had about $50 million in advance, so it was normal for the box office to be around $50 million on the first day. It wasn't worth making a fuss about. Many people were watching indifferently, waiting to see if The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer could make back its investment under the strong impact of The Ace Agent, and whether it would become Lu Chen's first failure. On the 2nd of October, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer had $57.72 million in box office, which increased by more than $8 million, and the total box office broke $100 million. The Ace Agent increased at the same time, and the box office of $77 million was still suppressing The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. A domestic blockbuster and a Hollywood blockbuster basically dominated this year's National Day period, and the other domestic movies that were released at the same time could only eat the leftovers, and they didn't have much competition at all. In today's movie market, it was normal for big productions and big investments. The production cost of a domestic movie was easily over $100 million, and most of it was eaten up by the actors' pay. It was basically difficult for a low-budget movie to succeed, and the occasional exception could only be regarded as a miracle. For example, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer had an investment of nearly $150 million, and the publicity cost was about $50 million, so the total cost was more than $200 million. It was considered a medium level among domestic blockbusters, and in recent years, there were many big productions with a budget of $400 to $500 million. But compared to The Ace Agent, it paled in comparison. So although there had been a few domestic blockbusters that beat Hollywood blockbusters in the domestic box office, and even occupied the top of the box office rankings, but overall, facing the impact of Hollywood blockbusters, domestic blockbusters weren't as bad as 10 years ago, and now they were still at a disadvantage. This was the main reason why many people in the film industry didn't think The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was an important film. In their opinion, there wasn't much difference between a martial arts movie and an action movie, and the only difference was the era and background. How could it compete with the special effects of Hollywood? Some people asserted that when the fans of Lu Chen and the other actors used up the box office, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would definitely face a big drop in the box office, and it would be lucky if it could recover its investment. However, the reality gave all the people who criticized The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer a heavy slap in the face. On the third day of the National Day holiday, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer's box office soared to more than $75 million, and the increase was shocking. In stark contrast, Ace Agent fell to $52.28 million. The two movies happened to be reversed today and yesterday, which shocked countless people in the industry. The Smiling, Proud Wanderer completed a beautiful counterattack. Although it was behind its opponent in the screening schedule, the box office had crushed Ace Agent. In just 3 days, many people were confused. While they searched for answers through various channels, they also bought tickets to watch the movie. They wanted to see with their own eyes what kind of magic this movie had. The box office could actually go against the trend in a single day. He must have bought the box office. In the general manager's office of Wanhao Pictures, Lu Xingda, who was sitting on the boss's chair, slammed the mouse in his hand and said angrily, "People nowadays specialize in these unscrupulous ways. This is how they corrupt the atmosphere in the industry." Buying box office sales had long been an open secret in the film industry, and it was even an unspoken rule. Moreover, it had a long history, and now, it was getting bigger and bigger. Some film companies, in order to increase their performance and to win the title of the box office champion, would spend money at all costs to increase the box office sales. It could be said that they were full of tricks. Many netizens had found that some movies were often full at midnight, and the occupancy rate reached 100%. There were also audiences who bought tickets and found that there were not many seats left. In the end, when they entered, they found that they had booked the whole theater, and no one else came in until the end. Some people in the industry had publicly said that all the domestic movies that broke 100 million on the first day had bought box office sales. Some even spent 50 or 60 million to achieve the goal of breaking 100 million. Buying box office sales had already become a complete gray industry chain, and the actual cost was not too high. The most typical example was 15 years ago, a domestic movie's box office reached 2.7 billion, which created the highest box office record in the country. It caused a great sensation and was publicized to everyone. But in fact, the real box office of the movie was at most half. Not only did they buy box office sales, but they also stole box office sales. It was repeatedly exposed, but it was still as stable as Mount Tai, relying on the strong background of the producer. Although the relevant departments had carried out a crackdown on these undesirable phenomena, the focus of the crackdown was more on stealing box office sales. As for buying box office sales, they basically turned a blind eye. So when Lu Xingda saw that the box office of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer actually surpassed that of Ace Agent, his first thought was that Qinfei Media had bought box office sales. Otherwise, it would be impossible. The assistant standing next to him looked at his boss, and he was quite speechless. Manager Lu actually scolded others for doing dishonest things with a righteous face. When Wanhao Pictures' Young Wanderer opened on the first day, it bought box office sales of 45 million, or else it would not have broken 100 million. The next day, it bought another 25 million, and it added up to a box office sales of 70 million. Of course, he was complaining in his heart, but on the surface, he agreed with it and said, yes, they must have bought box office sales. Lu Xingda picked up his phone angrily and made a few calls. Lao Zhu, I'm Lu Xingda, I have something to ask you, is this CEO Gao? I'm Lu Xingda from Wanhao. I want to ask you about something. After spending more than half an hour, he finally threw his slightly hot phone on the table. His face was so gloomy that it seemed like water could be squeezed out of it, and the atmosphere in the office dropped quite a bit. The assistant lowered his head and did not even dare to breathe loudly, for fear that he would be caught in the crossfire. From the conversation between Lu Xingda and others, he heard some clues. Qinfei Media actually did not buy box office sales for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, which meant that the box office sales of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was completely real, and there was no fake news. This was really unbelievable. Such a shocking trend meant that in the next few days, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer would have a huge box office sales. There would be no problem in recovering the cost, and it could even achieve a large profit. Compared to Wanhao Pictures' failure in Young Wanderer, one could imagine Lu Xingda's mood at the moment. What the assistant didn't know was that what really embarrassed Lu Xingda was the ridicule he made towards Lu Qinfei Media, and The Smiling, Proud Wanderer in the Great Wall Guild Hall a few days ago. Now that he thought about it, he made a joke out of himself by laughing at others. Chapter 848. Bang! A cork inlaid with gold foil flew up and hit the ceiling under the strong internal pressure. Yeah! Cheers filled with joy sounded in the headquarters of Qinfei Media. In the newly decorated conference room, colorful balloons were hanging, and a 7-layer cake was placed in the center. On the projection screen on the wall, the words celebrating the box office of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, broke 100 million in a single day, were very eye-catching. It also revealed the theme of the celebration. As the most important movie project of Qinfei Media, The Sword of the Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was released nationwide on October 1st. The box office on the first day was 49.2 million. Then it climbed higher and higher with a lot of negative comments. It completed an incredible miracle. Yesterday, October 5th, the box office of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer successfully broke 100 million and reached 107 million. The accumulated box office of this martial arts blockbuster reached 377 million, which was not far from the cost line. If everything went well, it would break even with today's box office. Under the suggestion of Lu Qinfei Media held an internal celebration today, so that all the employees could share the joy of this hard-won success. The conference room was packed with people. All the employees who could come were there, and everyone's faces were full of smiles. Recently, Qinfei Media had been under a lot of pressure. The success or failure of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer greatly affected the company's operation this year, and all kinds of public opinions from the industry also had a certain impact on the employees. Especially those who directly participated in the production of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. As the box office of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer broke 100 million in a single day. All the pressure and worries disappeared. Glasses of champagne were poured into wine glasses, and pieces of fragrant and sweet cake were cut out. Although this celebration was not grand, the atmosphere was definitely the best. Clap. Clap. She clapped her hands and said, "Next, let's welcome Director Lu to say a few words." Great. Everyone immediately applauded and cheered loudly. All eyes were focused on Lu Chen. At this moment, from the manager of the company to the most ordinary clerk, they all had a kind of pride from the bottom of their hearts. Because in the company they worked for, there was a legendary person. They had never failed when they followed Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled and raised his hand. The conference room instantly quietened down. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you, everyone, for your hard work and fruitful work during this period of time. Without you, this movie would not have succeeded. Thank you for your hard work." After that, Lu Chen bowed deeply to everyone. Lu Chen's gratitude was not hypocritical. It was impossible for him to complete the smiling, proud wanderer by himself. For the sake of the shooting, production and promotion of the movie, all the employees were working hard. They had no complaints even if they worked overtime. Many people did not leave their names at the end of the movie, but they still made a contribution. After a moment of silence, there was a sudden burst of applause. A few sensitive female employees even had red eyes. Lu Chen stood up and said with a smile, "I won't say anything else. This month, all the employees will be rewarded with an extra 2 months' salary. When the box office of the smiling, proud martial world breaks 1 billion, we will have a real celebration party. At that time, everyone can try their luck at the lucky draw." While this time, the applause was so loud that it almost blew the roof off. Some employees shouted, "Long live Boss Lu." After all was said and done, the best way to motivate people was to increase their salary and bonuses. The average salary of the employees of Chen Fei Media was above average in the industry. Adding an extra 2 months' salary was definitely a big benefit. And there would be a real celebration party later. At that time, the prize for the lucky draw would definitely not be a small thing. The benefits would come one after another. As for the problem of breaking 1 billion in the box office of the smiling, proud martial world, was it still a problem? It was close to 400 million in 5 days, and it was still increasing against the trend. Although it could not keep increasing indefinitely, there were still more than 20 days to go. It would be easy to break 1 billion. 1.5 to 2 billion was the possible limit. The atmosphere in the conference room reached its peak. Lu Chen, Chen Fei, and Lu Shi looked at each other and smiled, sharing the joy with everyone. On October 6, the smiling, proud martial world had a one-day box office of 135 million. On October 7, it fell to 118 million. Although the miracle of the growth against the trend ended on the 7th day, the total box office of the smiling, proud martial world had accumulated 630 million in the first week. Big exceeded the cost of 500 million. It was inevitable that it would make a big profit. At the same time, the smiling, the proud wanderer, completely crushed the Hollywood action blockbuster Ace Agent, which was released at the same time in terms of box office and total box office. The latter's box office had fallen to less than 30 million. Although it had an advantage at the beginning of the movie, now it was completely defeated. Correspondingly, the smiling, proud martial world screening rate was rising. On the 7th day, it reached 75%. It was less than 7% away from the 70% screening rate of the phenomenal movie. Big squeezed the competition again. Regarding this, the industry was temporarily speechless. But on the internet, the smiling, proud martial world's reputation was still fermenting and spreading. The most wonderful domestic blockbuster in the past 10 years. Completely defeated the Hollywood action blockbuster. Domestic martial arts movies are the first in history. The smiling, proud martial world beat Ace Agent with a box office of 630 million in the first week. This is a real martial arts movie. On the largest domestic movie community website, Rotten Tomatoes, the smiling, Proud Marshall World won more than 200,000 fresh tomatoes. The number of rotten tomatoes was less than 5,000, and the freshness was 98%. On Wave's blog, the movie was rated 4.5 stars. There were more than 2 million comments, and among them, 5 stars accounted for 93.45%. On Film and Shadow website, it was rated 9.56. On these film review websites, there were domestic movies with higher scores than The Smiling, Proud Marshall World, but they were all based on a small number of comments. They were not at the same level as The Smiling, Proud Marshall World. From this, it could be seen how good the reputation of The Smiling, Proud Marshall World was. Reputation was the market. Without buying the box office, it was completely reasonable for The Smiling, Proud Marshall World to break 100 million in a single day. Just the huge box office was not so amazing. The peripheral sales of The Smiling, Proud Marshall World also showed a hot trend. It had accumulated more than 100 million in 7 days. It was about to break the record of a Chinese ghost story. When did the peripheral sales of domestic movies become so good? They didn't believe it. They didn't dare to believe it. They didn't want to believe it. So some people who were not convinced decided to go to the cinema to watch it in person. Chapter 849. It took Raphael 2 minutes to figure out how to get the movie tickets that he had ordered online from the machine. It was a new experience for his idol. Before, he didn't need to buy a ticket to watch a movie, or he had an assistant to do it for him. When he was a teenager, there was no such thing as an automatic ticket machine. Today, Raphael came to watch a movie in the capital. He sneaked out without his assistant, and he didn't want others to find out what he was doing. Therefore, he wore a mask and glasses, and chose a time when there were fewer people in the afternoon. There were only a few minutes left before the movie started. Raphael took the ticket, passed through the gate, and entered the movie hall. What surprised him was that at such an unpopular time, the theater with more than 200 seats had an occupancy rate of more than 50%. Basically, all the good seats were occupied, and many of them were girls. Raphael's seat was number 11 in the 7th row. When he found a seat, 2 girls next to him glanced at him curiously. They probably felt that he looked weird with a mask and glasses on. Raphael really wanted to take off his disguise to see their reaction, but he held back his impulse when he thought of the purpose of sneaking out today. 2 minutes later, more people came in, and the number of seats was increased to about 65%. Although Raphael was unhappy, he had to admit that the amazing box office result of the movie was real. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people supporting it. From the discussions of the audience, he could tell that they didn't come here with free tickets. They were real audience members and Lu Chen's fans. That's right. Raphael came to watch The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, which had been on the air for 9 days. As of yesterday, the total box office of the movie had exceeded 700 million yuan. It was almost 1 billion yuan. As the male lead of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, the first domestic martial arts blockbuster released by Wanhao Pictures during the summer, Raphael had been disturbed by the news about The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. The box office of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer exceeded 100 million yuan in a single day. The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer beat Hollywood blockbuster. The peripheral sales of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer reached a new high. The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, although it had been a few months, Raphael was still very unhappy. The investment of young Jianghu was more than that of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. It had been widely promoted, and it was the first wuxia blockbuster. The content was adapted from a popular novel. It should have been a hit, but it turned out that it didn't even recover its cost. And because of this movie, he was ridiculed by many people as a box office poison. He didn't receive any decent movie engagements for a few months, and even his popularity dropped a lot. Seeing that The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman was so popular, Raphael didn't want to admit defeat. Therefore, he wanted to see for himself whether the movie had some special magic that could create a miracle when the wuxia blockbusters had a bad reputation. He also wanted to see if Lu Chen was really stronger than him. The lights in the cinema slowly dimmed, and the title appeared on the screen. The movie had officially begun. Huofail took off his glasses and leaned back in his seat. He looked at the screen in front of him with a critical gaze. He was like a strict film critic. The light and shadow intertwined, and the story slowly unfolded. Huofail had read the entire novel of the smiling, the proud swordsman, so he was familiar with the plot in the book. However, the movie was obviously different from the novel. The content that could be shown in 2 hours was always limited. Compared to the millions of words in the original novel, the importance of the adaptation of the script was undeniable. Young Jianghu made a mistake in this aspect, and was criticized by the fans of the novel for not making any changes. It was also one of the main reasons why the box office was not good. Lu Chen is so handsome. Huofail frowned when he heard the soft voice from the seat next to him. However, the male lead on the screen was indeed very handsome, and his clothes and accessories were very old-fashioned. It didn't make people feel that he was out of character. When Huofail compared his slightly exaggerated appearance in Young World, he suddenly felt a burning sensation on his face. It was an awkward feeling. Fortunately, the latter part of the story attracted his attention, so he didn't fall into an embarrassing thought. Then, laughter, exclamations, and even applause appeared as the story progressed, and the nitpicking in Huofail's eyes turned into enlightenment. Although he had his own opinions, Huofail had to admit that Lu Chen's the smiling, the proud swordsman was much more exciting than his young Jianghu. It was too exciting. Especially the fighting scenes, the use of the camera and the design of the movements, all gave people a strong sense of beauty, which made people excited and intoxicated. Huofail couldn't figure out how some of the scenes were shot. The special effects were definitely at the top level of Hollywood, which were exquisite and original. Huofail felt embarrassed when he thought of the fighting scenes in Young Jianghu. There would be no harm if there was no comparison. No wonder people said that the smiling, the proud swordsman was a real wuxia film. In addition to the exciting fighting scenes, the story was also smooth and complete. Coupled with the magnificent or picturesque background, it actually looked like an epic movie. When the ending song, which was the theme song of the smiling, the proud swordsman, played, Huofail still wanted to watch more. Therefore, when he left the cinema, he couldn't describe the feeling in his heart with words. The smiling, the proud swordsman was excellent, and it made him understand what a real wuxia film was like. It was definitely not a lousy fantasy film with special effects. In this film, Lu Chen played many roles, including the leading actor, the action director, the scriptwriter, and the arranger. Huofail could imagine how disappointed he was. Compared to Lu Chen, he was lagging behind in all aspects. Before Huofail walked out of the cinema, he heard a noise from a shop on the side of the hall, which attracted his attention again. The accessories of the smiling, the proud swordsman were on sale there. There were handmade dolls, original albums, t-shirts, toys, stationery, phone cases. There were a lot of customers in front of the dazzling products. Huofail stopped and started walking again. He didn't want to stay here any longer, because he was afraid that his jealousy would devour him. Chapter 850. Since the birth of the movie, this entertainment industry has reached a huge scale today. In 2016, the global box office was $45 billion, but this was only a part of the movie industry. The overall scale of the industry exceeded $200 billion, and it maintained a continuous growth trend. The American film industry, represented by Hollywood, accounted for more than half of the share. In the past 10 years, the domestic film industry had flourished, and the scale of the market was getting larger and larger. The box office was no longer inferior to the United States, and domestic films were no longer defeated by Hollywood films. They had fought for a considerable piece of the cake. But in many aspects, there was still a huge gap between domestic films and Hollywood blockbusters. The most typical one was undoubtedly the movie peripherals. Many Hollywood films, especially the mangas, only accounted for 15 to 25% of the total revenue, and most of the value was generated by the peripherals, brand licensing, and copyright transfer. The profits were amazing. For example, the net profit of the movie peripherals could reach 50 to 60%, much more than the share of the box office. However, domestic films had not made any achievements in this area for a long time. Although many films had launched some peripherals, the sales were often poor. Over time, domestic film companies basically gave up in this area. The reason for this was very complicated. And this phenomenon was broken by A Chinese Ghost Story last year. A Chinese Ghost Story's peripherals sold more than 100 million yuan. At that time, it caused an earthquake in the industry, and many people cast their eyes on it. Young Pugilistic World, which was released in the summer, launched a lot of peripherals. As a result, the movie's box office was a fiasco, and the audience's reputation was very bad. Even these peripherals were accumulated in the warehouse, and in the end, they were sold at a loss. To everyone's surprise, the first part of The Smiling, Proud Pugilistic World, produced by Chunfei Media, not only spent tens of millions of yuan on publicity, but also invested a huge amount of money on the peripherals. On the first day of release, it appeared in the stores of major cinemas. Many people in the industry thought that Lu Chen was dizzy by the success of A Chinese Ghost Story. In the case that the reputation of the martial arts film had been ruined, he still dared to spend money on peripherals. It was simply throwing money into the water. However, the truth slapped these people hard in the face. The peripheral sales of The Smiling, Proud Pugilistic World soared with the growth of the box office. It only took 8 days to break the record of A Chinese Ghost Story. Among the peripherals of The Smiling, Proud Pugilistic World, the best-selling one was the mobile phone case. A total of 1.5 million were sold. According to the average price of 28 yuan per phone, of which, of course, they had achieved sales of 42 million. Everyone knew that the production cost of products like the mobile phone case was very low. Even with the distribution to the surrounding stores, Chunfei Media could still make at least 30 million. Lu of Media of. First, we must. In a private club in the capital, when Li Mushi asked this question to Lu Chen curiously, his answer was very simple. Without confidence, how can one succeed? In terms of peripherals, domestic movies had never been confident, because there were too many examples of failure, which led to the production company not daring to invest in this area, nor did they attach importance to it. The habit of domestic movie people was that the peripherals of movies belonged to Hollywood blockbusters. It was enough for domestic peripherals to be familiar, and over time, everyone got used to it. But Lu Chen thought differently. He attached great importance to the peripherals of movies, and was willing to invest in it. For example, for the design of the peripherals, he hired the best design team in the country, and the processing and manufacturing were also outsourced to the relevant company with first-class technical level. He would never make a shoddy product to cheat money. For example, for figurines, there was a method that cost a few dollars, a craftsmanship that cost dozens of dollars, and a cost of hundreds of dollars was not uncommon, and the quantity of production was also very important. Lu Chen was willing and dared to spend money, so whether it was A Chinese Ghost Story or The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, the quality of the peripherals launched was comparable to that of the peripherals of Hollywood blockbusters. In addition, the quantity of one order was large enough, and the cost was reduced, so they were much better than the goods of the same industry in the country. For example, a phone case that cost $28 was made of the best plastic material, non-toxic and environmentally friendly, and the feeling was first class. The printing used the most advanced technology, which could ensure that the pattern would not fade for 5 years. Although the cost was very high, Chunfei Media ordered 5 million at one time, so naturally the cost was diluted. And most of the people who were willing to spend money on peripherals were real fans, but even if they were real fans, they were not easy to fool. They could naturally tell whether a product was made with care or not. Therefore, the big sale of peripherals of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was not due to luck. First of all, it was based on Lu Chen's confidence in the box office of the movie. Daring to invest, had the corresponding return. Other film companies might not have the courage to do so. The peripheral sales have exceeded 100 million, plus the box office is almost 1 billion. Although Li Mushi was born in a big family and held a company listed on Nasdaq in her hand, she couldn't help but feel jealous. Plus brand licensing and so on, it will eventually be 2 billion, 10 times the output. It's just a movie. I want to start a movie company, Chen Fei said with a smile. Sister Mushy, your online crowdfunding is no worse than any domestic film company. Li Mushy shook her head and said, the market value may be comparable, but the profit is really not good. The competition is too big. After the successful listing of the online crowdfunding on Nasdaq, similar website companies sprang up like bamboo shoots after a rain. Although the former occupied more than half of the market share, the competitive pressure was also great. The result of fierce competition was the decline of profits, and in order to ensure the market share, the investment could not be less, so the profit was really not as good as that of Chenfei Media. After spitting out the bitterness, Li Mushy's beautiful eyes turned and fell on Lu Chen's face. She said, Boss Lu, you are a shareholder of the online crowdfunding. You can't just take dividends and do nothing, can you? Hurry up and think of something new. Lu Chen spread out his hands and said, what new tricks can I have? I have long given up. Li Mushy was unreasonable, that won't do. Don't you have a lot of ideas? Think of a new industry idea that can go on the market, and then I will let you go today. Lu Chen was speechless. Did she really think he was an omnipotent god? However, he did have some ideas. Chapter 851. When Li Mushy first met Lu Chen, she didn't think much of Lu Chen. She was talented and naturally proud. The only man she admired was her father. Even her elder brother Li Murong was nothing in her eyes. As for her younger brother Li Mubai, he was a completely immature kid. Lu Chen, who was regarded as a friend by Li Mubai, at first, she regarded him as the kind of person who was trying to curry favor with others. The children of the Li family have seen too many similar people in their growth. However, after a period of contact, Li Mushy's impression of Lu Chen has changed dramatically, especially the genius creativity of the online crowdfunding model. Although she has never admitted it, she was convinced in her heart. She was able to control a company listed on Nasdaq and become one of the most outstanding figures of the younger generation in Beijing Circle, which was also based on the foundation created by Lu Chen. If it was only online crowdfunding, Li Mushy would not be so convinced by Lu Chen. Putting aside Lu Chen's talent in music and acting, his other company, Happy Entertainment, was also doing well in China. First, he created Happy Farm, which caused a craze of stealing vegetables, and then sold it to QQ Games at a sky-high price. Now Happy Entertainment has launched mobile games such as Plants vs. Zombies, Angry Birds, Fruit Ninja, and so on. Each of these games has sold well, and it has become the most watched new game company in the industry. It is said that Happy Entertainment will enter the most profitable online games on a large scale and is developing an online game based on the proud, smiling wanderer. As far as Li Mushy knows, these shining game ideas were all created by Lu Chen, and Lu Chen still holds at least 80% of Happy Entertainment's shares and has not accepted a penny of external venture capital. Although Happy Entertainment is not listed, its valuation in the industry is at least 5 billion. If the new online game The Proud, Smiling Wanderer can be successful, it can easily break 10 billion. Lu Chen's wealth can be imagined. Li Mushy regretted not investing in Happy Entertainment in the beginning. If she wanted to invest in Happy Entertainment back then, she believed that Lu Chen wouldn't have rejected her. Now, she would be getting a return of 100 times the investment. Li Mushy doesn't think much about the past. She wants to grasp the present, so she takes advantage of the conversation to knock Lu Chen to see if she can knock out golden ideas such as crowdfunding and Happy Farm from Lu Chen. It didn't matter if he couldn't knock it out, but if he did, he would make a huge profit. Of course, she wasn't too serious. She was more or less joking, and it was a half-truth. It didn't matter if she was rejected by Lu Chen. But when she saw Lu Chen's thoughtful expression, Li Mushy's mind suddenly surged with countless crazy ideas. She stared at Lu Chen with glowing eyes, and her pretty face flushed with excitement. Tell me quickly, I know you have the goods. Li Mushy licked her lips, pulled Chen Fei, and said, I won't let you suffer a loss. I will pay for all the investment money. I only want 60% of the shares. I will give 20% to Lu Shi, and 20% to this person. How about it? She doesn't lack money now, but she lacks business ideas to take her career to the next level. I don't even have 1% of the shares. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But Li Mushi's offer was very generous. She just took out a creative idea and gave 40% of the shares. It was really rare in today's era where capital was king. It could even be said to violate the basic business principles. But on the other hand, Lu Chen doesn't lack money either. He has the capital to turn his ideas into reality. Holding 100% of the shares in his hands is not a big deal. But for Lu Chen now, money is just a number. It doesn't matter how much it is, and his interest has never been in business. Li Mushi obviously knows that, so she put forward such a special condition. Lu Shi 20%, Chen Fei, 20%. She can really think of it. Chen Fei, was shocked and said, I don't want, are you stupid? Li Mushi rolled her eyes and said, we women need to be independent and self-reliant. We can't rely on men. This new company will be played by the three of us together, and the money we earn will be our own money. It doesn't matter if he is there or not. Lu Shi applauded and said with a smile, that's right. Li Mushi was proud and said to Lu Chen, what else do you want to say? In the face of this female rogue, Lu Chen could only surrender, okay, whatever you say. Li Mushi made a victory sign to Lu Shi. Lu Shi ignored her and asked Lu Chen curiously, what do you think? Her sister also can't understand her brother. She has never seen Lu Chen so smart since he was a child. How can he have so many creative ideas in his head? Lu Chen didn't answer directly, but asked Li Mushi, do you know public bicycles? Public bicycles? Li Mushi nodded doubtfully, yes, they can rent bicycles with citizen cards. There are also bicycles abroad. Lu Chen asked again, do you know what the disadvantages of public bicycles are? This really made Li Mushi speechless. She has never ridden a bicycle before. Lu Shi blinked and said, if you want to talk about disadvantages, it is inconvenient to find and return bicycles. The number of bicycles is limited. In addition, the deposit is quite high. Public bicycles are not something new. She used to ride public bicycles when she worked a few years ago. By the way, Lu Chen said with a smile, my idea is to target public bicycles. I call it shared bicycles. There is no need for bicycles. Shared bicycles can be borrowed and returned at any time. There is no limit to the area and location. The special lock has built-in satellite positioning system and kinetic energy rechargeable battery. It is unlocked and charged through app software. In terms of deposit and payment, we can cooperate with third-party electronic payment. At the same time, with the help of their credit scoring system, we can bundle the credit score after registration. As long as the score is up to standard, we can ride it without a deposit. At that time, we can order a large number of exclusive bicycles at one time and put them in intensive distribution in major cities across the country. We can quickly occupy the market. In addition to domestic and foreign markets, it is also promising. Of course, we first need to register the commercial creative copyright, Lu Chen spoke with fervor and assurance. The more Li Mushi listened, the brighter her eyes became. Although she didn't know much about public bicycles, she knew that this green urban travel method has a considerable number of users, whether in China or abroad, and it has the support of the government. The shared bicycles proposed by Lu Chen is a commercial creation based on public bicycles. It makes up for the shortcomings of public bicycles and opens up a market that other capital has not yet set foot in. The potential of this market, intuition told Li Mushi that she may have dug up another gold mine. Chapter 852. Li Mushi, who graduated from Wharton Business School, was far superior to ordinary people in both IQ and business sense. What she lacked was inspiration. Once she was enlightened by Lu Chen, the shrewdness in her bones suddenly burst out. I want this idea, Li Mushi's eyes flashed with an intimidating light. Without any hesitation, she said, you can name your conditions. What she said to Lu Chen before was just a joke. How could a project with an investment of hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars be taken lightly? Although she got Lu Chen's idea and could completely leave the latter and work alone, Miss Li was not such a bad person. Lu Chen said with a smile, "You've just said the conditions. The three of you can discuss the specific terms. I won't participate." "You really don't want to be a shareholder?" Li Mushi was very surprised. She knew very well how much profit this project would bring if it was successful. Now the new energy waves were in the ascendant, and the concept of green and environmental protection had long been deeply rooted in people's hearts. A project like bike sharing was simply in line with the trend of the times and had great development potential. However, Lu Chen threw it to her so easily. He didn't even want the shares, which made her feel a little incredulous. Lu Chen shook his head and said, "I really don't want it. You guys play." With the rich memories in the dream world and the strength he had now, he really had a lot of creative ideas to make money, but it was impossible to put them into practice one by one. In fact, the idea of bike sharing was mainly to repay the Li family represented by Li Mushi. Without the Li family, Chenfei Media could not have developed so smoothly in the capital. This big tree still needed to be relied on for a long time. What was the point of coming up with an idea? It was convenient to get some benefits for Lu Shi and Chenfei. Li Mushi finally confirmed that Lu Chen was not joking. She sighed and said to Chenfei, "You really found a good husband. He just said he didn't want the shares worth hundreds of millions." Chenfei pursed her lips and chuckled, and her eyes were full of love when she looked at Lu Chen. Li Mushi suddenly felt a tinge of jealousy in her heart. She shook her head and said, "If you don't want it, then don't. I'll play with Lu Shi and Fei. By the way." She thought of something else. She grabbed Lu Chen and said, "Think of another name. We can't just call it bike sharing, right?" Lu Chen thought for a moment. He found a pen and paper and wrote the word OFO in English. OFO? Li Mushi was confused. What does that mean? Lu Chen said, "Look carefully." Chenfei, and Lu Shi were curious, so they craned their necks to see what Lu Chen was up to. Chenfei took a look and said hesitantly, "Does it look like a bicycle?" The word OFO that Lu Chen had written in English was not neat. The F was stretched out and deformed. Together with the two O circles, it looked like a handlebar with wheels at the front and back. It was an abstract representation of a bicycle. Bingo! Lu Chen smiled and said, "But there's no reward. Let's use this as the bike sharing logo." Also, OFO can be understood as online fuse offline. He casually wrote a line of English on the paper. Online and offline fusion. Online fuse offline, online and offline fusion. Li Mushi read it out. Her gaze became very complicated. Admiration, exclamation, realization, joy, and other emotions were mixed together. She stared at Lu Chen in a daze. "It's a pity that you don't go into business." With Lu Chen's talent in business and the power of the Li family, building an empire might not be a dream. Lu Chen smiled and said nothing. Li Mushi put aside her distracting thoughts and said decisively, "Then let's use OFO as the bike sharing logo. I'll first register the international and domestic business creative copyrights, then register a new company." The logo has to be redesigned by the best designer. She had completely entered the mode of a strong woman, and all kinds of ideas gushed out. Tap. Tap. At this time, the door of the private room was gently knocked on by someone. Li Mushi, who had been interrupted, was a little unhappy, but she still said, "Come in." The door opened, and a man with a solemn expression walked in. "Boss Lu, Boss Li, Miss Chen." Seeing the person, Li Mushi smiled. "De Yong, why are you so late?" "Sit down." It was Wan Yong. Wan Yong was originally the coach of the Borui Club. He was poached by Lu Chen and became the leader of the Lu family's class. He participated in the filming of a Chinese ghost story, You from the Star, and The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. This forthright man was now Lu Chen's right-hand man. He had a good relationship with Lee Mushy. At the beginning, Lee Mushy had personally recruited him. But today, he seemed to have something on his mind. He forced a smile and said, "I was delayed by something." As he spoke, he looked at Lu Chen. An idea came to Lu Chen's mind, and he said, "Brother Yong, sit down and talk." Wan Yong nodded and sat down. He poured a cup of tea and drank it up. Then he said, "Boss Lu, there are several people in our team who want to leave. I'm afraid I can't stop them." His words made everyone stunned. Lu Chen frowned and asked, "Those people?" Of course, the team Wan Yong was talking about was the Lu family's class. In the process of shooting The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, the Lu family's class made great efforts. It could be said that without this excellent action team, it would be impossible to shoot the martial arts blockbuster that was praised by people today. And Lu Chen had invested a lot of money and effort in the Lu family's class. Unexpectedly, when the box office of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was a big hit, there was actually someone who wanted to leave. Xiao Gao, De Tu, Wang Kaizhen, Wan Yong said the names of 6 or 7 people in one breath, and said bitterly, "What did we do to them? We have a lot of salary, bonus, welfare, insurance, and housing, and the company has spent so much money to train them." The honest man's face turned red. Obviously, he was very angry. He felt that he was responsible for such a thing. There was no sign before, and he was caught unprepared. He felt that he was very sorry for Lu Chen. Lee Mushy also flew into a rage. "There is a contract, right? Then let's go to court directly. I will drive them out of the capital." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "Driving them out of the capital can't solve the fundamental problem." He was very calm. He knew that this kind of thing would happen sooner or later. Those competitors were not fools. The box office of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was about to exceed 1 billion, and they had already analyzed it thoroughly. The contribution of the Lu family's class couldn't be hidden at all. It was normal for them to be poached. In fact, Lu Chen had already prepared for this. But it was very difficult to control people's hearts. No matter how strict the contract was, it couldn't resist the temptation of interests, and it couldn't block all the loopholes. Fortunately, only one important member was poached. It didn't affect much even if the others left. As long as the core was still there, the name of the Lu family's class wouldn't fall. Chapter 853. On the 11th of October, the first song of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, broke 1 billion in box office after 11 days of screening. Chinfei Media held a grand celebration party for this. The domestic wuxia film was not expected to do well, but under the strong competition from Hollywood blockbusters, the box office kept rising and became one of the most successful domestic films of the year, shocking the industry as expected. What was most unbelievable to the people in the circle was that the box office of The Smiling, The Proud Martial World had not been tampered with. It had not bought the box office, and there was no bad record of stealing the box office. It had stood upright and made money. Not only that, when the box office broke 1 billion, The Proud Wanderer's box office sales also broke 150 million, creating a new record for the box office sales of a domestic film. It was reported by many important domestic media, gaining both fame and fortune. What made people jealous was that the first song was already selling so well. The second and third part of The Smiling, Proud Martial World would definitely not be bad, because the audience base was already solid. As long as the quality didn't drop, then it would bring Chinfei Media incomparably rich profits. In addition, Chinfei Media and Happy Entertainment announced that The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would be in open beta on January 1, 2019. At that time, all fans of the book and the movie could choose their favorite sect and enter the virtual world to explore. With the popularity of the movie, Happy Entertainment released the first trailer of The Proud Wanderer on Wave's blog, and the number of views reached 20 million on the same day. Compared to movies, online games were undoubtedly more profitable. Everyone realized that a super IP had been formed, and it was showing its terrifying power. With the popularity of The Proud Wanderer, a large number of related articles and posts appeared on the internet, newspapers, and magazines. There were even scholars who specifically discussed that the Proud Wanderer's success would set off a wave of wuxia craze in China. Many film companies and entertainment media companies in the industry focused their attention on this issue. Because of the failure of Young Wanderer and the other wuxia blockbusters, it was a sharp contrast to the Proud Wanderer. Many professionals began to dig deeper, trying to figure out the secret behind the latter's success. Most people agreed that the smiling, Proud Wanderer had created a new type of movie. The most distinctive feature of the movie was the fighting scenes that were so exquisite and dazzling that they were so cool. Different from the simple and violent Hollywood action blockbusters, and different from the stacked special effects of domestic fantasy films, the smiling, the Proud Wanderer was unique and attracted the hearts of countless audiences. Most of the audience's comments on the smiling, Proud Wanderer was that it was wonderful and entertaining. The good reputation it brought drove the box office of the smiling, Proud Wanderer to new heights. And those who thought they had seen through the secret of the success of the smiling, Proud Wanderer launched a large-scale poaching operation on the action team owned by Chen Fei Media, namely the Liu family squad. In modern society, there were very few secrets that could be hidden from everyone. A film crew could have up to hundreds of people, and the situation was complicated. The actions and routines involved in the filming of the smiling, Proud Wanderer could not be kept a secret. Therefore, in the eyes of these people, as long as they poached a few members of the Liu family squad to join them, they would be able to shoot a wuxia blockbuster like the smiling, the Proud Wanderer and share the cake that had just been made. All of a sudden, even the film crew in Ningxian Film and Television City was greatly affected. More than a dozen members of the Liu family squad resigned, and some even left without saying goodbye. Most of them were poached by other film companies at high prices, and some planned to start their own companies. In this regard, Chen Fei Media did not fly into a rage, nor did they take any extreme measures. They did not make things difficult for those who wanted to leave. As long as they paid the compensation according to the contract, they could regain their freedom. Everyone parted on good terms. And for those who continued to stay, the company offered a new contract with more generous benefits. Several important core members, such as Wan Yong, were given extra rewards in terms of dividends. When the Liu family squad was first established, there were only a dozen members, and then it expanded to 20 or 30. This group of people became the core of the action team when they were shooting a Chinese ghost story. By the time the smiling, the Proud Wanderer was filmed, the number of members of the Liu family squad had soared to as many as 50 or 60, and a large number of new blood had been added through talent shows, so they would not be hurt by the departure of more than a dozen people. Most of the core members stayed because their treatment was not bad, and they could be said to have been brought up by Liu Qin, so they had a high sense of identity with Liu Qin. Therefore, even if the people of the headhunting company talked a lot, few of them were tempted. Through the efforts of Chen Fei Media, the poaching storm was quickly calmed down. Several film production companies began to set up their own action team when they failed to poach people. They copied the routine of the Liu family squad, selected talents from local martial arts schools or sports schools for training, and prepared to copy this set of model into new films and TV series. Even if they could not be as glorious as Chen Fei Media, it was good enough to get a share of the pie. Therefore, in the foreseeable future, this Jianghu war would continue and become more and more intense. For Liu Qin, who caused this craze, it was not a bad thing. Only with competition could there be progress, and it was no longer interesting for Chen Fei Media to be the only one in the Jianghu war. On October 15, the Shanghai International Film Festival officially began, and the smiling, the Proud Wanderer entered as an exhibitor, seeking to sell the international copyright. As of the 20th, the smiling, the Proud Wanderer's box office exceeded $1.5 billion, and it became one of the most popular domestic films in the Shanghai International Film Festival. The copyright was sold to 37 countries in Southeast Asia and Europe and the United States, including the United States, Japan, Korea, Australia, France, Germany and other important film market countries. The total transaction reached $25 million, and it became the big winner of the Shanghai International Film Festival, and also made hundreds of millions of pure profit for Chen Fei Media. Some people in the industry estimated that the smiling, the Proud Wanderer, the wuxia IP, including 3 movies, copyright adaptation, copyright sale, brand authorization, peripheral sales, and so on, could at least bring more than 2 billion profits to Chen Fei Media. With only the IP of the smiling, the proud wanderer, Chen Fei Media already had the foundation to be listed in the domestic market. Once it was successfully listed, both Lu Chen and Chen Fei would have a new breakthrough. Chapter 854. October 20th, Beijing, Workers' Stadium. This large sports venue, which can accommodate 70,000 spectators, was full of seats. Countless people waved light sticks or held up support cards high, cheering for their favorite idols. The first stop of the Little Tiger Group's Huhus Might national tour was held in the Workers' Stadium. As a new generation of domestic idol groups, the Little Tiger Group made their debut in the Singing China talent show in 2016. That year, they won the Global Chinese Original Gold Songs List Best New Group of the Year. In just 2 years, they have become the most popular boy group in China. In 2 years, 2 albums have been extremely popular. The members of the Little Tiger Group are Little Handsome Tiger Zhang Juanji, Little Flying Tiger Hu Yiran and Little Cute Tiger Yu Yang. The 3 of them are so popular that they even overshadow MNS and have become the idols of countless young boys and girls. At the beginning of the establishment of the Little Tiger Group, there was a special team to serve them and build them into an entertainment brand. Names such as Little Tiger Group, Little Handsome Tiger, Little Flying Tiger, Little Cute Tiger, and so on were all registered, and a professional design company was commissioned to design a cartoon logo. With the rapid popularity of the Little Tiger Group in China, its brand has been continuously licensed out, including clothing, sports goods, stationery, toys, electronic products and so on. The income in this area alone has made a lot of money, making the eyes of the peers in the circle bleed with envy. In the past 2 years, there have been a lot of boy groups imitating the trend, such as Little Dragon Group and Little Wolf Group have sprung up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain, but none of the teams have reached even half of the height of the Little Tiger Group. Instead, they have been ridiculed as knockoffs and have not been recognized by fans. In fact, everyone is very clear about the reason. The first and most important reason is that there is a giant standing behind the Little Tiger Group. It is precisely because of his support that the Little Tiger Group has become what it is today. In today's era, the entertainment industry was extremely developed, and people's horizons were very broad. It wasn't as simple as putting together a few handsome men and beautiful women to sing and dance on the stage, and then creating a lot of hype to attract a large number of fans. What can really attract fans is to rely on works. Without excellent works and familiar songs, who will remember a team with serious homogeneity? The 2 best-selling albums of the Little Tigers were the reason why so many people came to the Workers' Stadium to support them tonight. Many fans, accompanied by their parents, came to Beijing from other places to watch the performance. Butterflies fly, just like children running in the wind. I feel like the rainbow of youth is farther than the sea and higher than the sky. Butterflies, fly to the castle of the future, open the skylight of dreams, let them grow faster and better. Butterfly flight. After the song, Butterfly Flies, was sung, there was a tsunami of shouts from the audience, and the atmosphere reached the climax since the beginning of the performance. This song was the masterpiece of the Little Tigers. Once it was released, it won the love of countless boys and girls, and it could often be heard in primary and secondary schools. When the Little Tiger Regiment sang this song in the Workers' Stadium, many people sang along with them, reminiscing the past together. Thank you everyone. The 3 members of the Little Tigers bowed in gratitude. They were panting, and their foreheads were covered in sweat, but their eyes were shining with joy and passion. For tonight's concert, they had prepared for as long as half a year, and now they had finally reaped the sweet fruits. Standing up, wiping his sweat, Zhang Juanji said to the thousands of fans, "Next." The audience quickly quieted down, and only a few fans were still desperately shouting his name. Among the 3 members of the Little Tigers, Zhang Juanji, as the leader, was undoubtedly the most popular. His Waves blog followers were equivalent to Hu Yiran and Yu Yang's combined. Zhang Juanji continued, "Next, let us welcome tonight's most important guest. He is our most respected teacher, and he is also Lu Chen. Before Zhang Juanji could say the answer, the tens of thousands of people in the audience had already shouted the answer for him. There was no fan present who did not know the name of the giant behind the Little Tigers, and that was Lu Chen. The Little Tiger Group itself came from an idea of Lu Chen. He named the Little Tiger Group and personally wrote the title song of the album for the Little Tiger Group. Several of the Little Tiger Group's most famous works were all written by him. Even the company that the Little Tigers belonged to had shares in Lu Chen. It was no exaggeration to say that without Lu Chen, the Little Tigers would not have appeared. Even if they did appear, they would not have the popularity and influence they had today. Tonight, Lu Chen would personally attend the Little Tigers concert as the mystery guest. It was a pleasant surprise, but also completely expected, because no other celebrity in the industry was more suitable than him. Lu Chen. Lu Chen. Lu Chen. Amidst the cheers of the audience, Lu Chen appeared on the big stage in casual clothes, standing together with the three members of the Little Tigers under the spotlight. At this moment, he had become the real protagonist, and the three popular teenagers had become the foil. No one thought or felt that there was anything wrong with this scene. "Thank you." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Hearing your voices makes me feel a lot younger." The cheers became even louder. Lu Chen smiled and waited for the cheers to die down, then continued, "Tonight, I will use a new song, to accompany everyone through our time together. I hope you will like it. The name of this song is called The Rainy Season When I Was 17. If there are no accidents, this song will also be the title song of the Little Tigers' new album." Wow! This time, the stadium was in an uproar. What an unexpected surprise. The accompanying music started, and the three members of the Little Tigers retreated to the chorus, giving the glorious stage to the person who changed their lives. "When I was a child, there were many jasmine flowers in front of the door emitting a faint fragrance. When I gradually grew up, those jasmine flowers in front of the door have slowly withered, no longer sprouting. What kind of mood, what kind of age, what kind of joy, what kind of crying. The noise, the laughter, the cheers, and the applause dissipated like dust. Only Lu Chen's clear, clean, and nostalgic song echoed in the stadium, tugging at the hearts of the boys and girls, causing a silent resonance." Note, The Rainy Season When I Was 17, lyricist/composer, Pan Fong Lai. Chapter 855. This song, The Rainy Season When I Was 17, was specially written by Lu Chen for the Little Tigers' first concert tonight. This song was full of youthful energy, but it also contained memories of his youth. The lyrics were simple, and the beautiful melody contained a touch of sadness, as well as the sour and bitter feelings of first love. The age of 17 or 18 was the best period of life. It was the time when one had just bid farewell to childishness and innocence, and was full of longing for the future. Hazy feelings began to sprout. Perhaps it was childish, perhaps it was hot-blooded, or perhaps it did not know what true love was. But when everyone recalled this period of time, most people would smile from the bottom of their hearts. Singing this song, Lu Chen also recalled his 17 years old. At that time, he had already tasted the taste of his first love. He thought that this feeling would last forever, but it turned into a bubble amidst the quarrel. Now that he recalled it, there was regret and sadness, and these regrets and sadness were all integrated into the song. The rainy season when I was 17, we have the same expectations, and we used to hug each other tightly. The rainy season when I was 17, recalling bits and pieces of my childhood, but I found that I was getting closer to maturity. When the same melody sounded again, the harmony of the three members of the Little Tiger group became the main voice, and the spotlight that fell on Lu Chen shifted to them. This was an obvious metaphor, representing the inheritance of new and old. Of course, Lu Chen was definitely not the old, but he was the recognized mentor of the Little Tigers. This song, The Rainy Season When I Was 17, was first sung by Lu Chen, but in the end, it was given to the Little Tigers. After the song was finished, the audience burst into thunderous applause. Countless fans jumped up in excitement, waved the glow sticks in their hands, and shouted at the top of their lungs, calling the names of Lu Chen and the 3 members of the Little Tigers. "Thank you." Lu Chen bowed to the audience to express his gratitude, and then prepared to leave the stage. But at this time, Zhang Juanji suddenly rushed over, opened his arms, and hugged Lu Chen tightly. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment before he smiled and patted him on the shoulder. In the end, Hu Yiran and Yu Yang also rushed over. The 3 of them surrounded Lu Chen. This was not the script of tonight's concert, but their admiration and worship for Lu Chen from the bottom of their hearts, as well as deep gratitude. Without Lu Chen, there would be no tiger cubs. Without Lu Chen, they would not have such a brilliant life. That was why the 3 of them made such a move. Although it was a little impulsive, it was exactly the feelings that teenagers should have. Encore. Encore. The audience quickly came to their senses and shouted the slogan of singing one more song in unison. In an instant, the atmosphere of the audience was pushed to the peak, turning the workers' stadium into a sea of noise. As the saying goes, it's hard to refuse such hospitality. Lu Chen can't disappoint the tens of thousands of audience at the scene, so he teamed up with the Little Tiger Regiment again and sang the song, "The Stars Are Still Bright," together. This was a new single released by the Little Tigers, also written by Lu Chen. When the song, "The Stars Are Still Shining," the sincerity is still the same, only with tears and sweat can we wash away the sorrow and joy of separation, was heard, the audience immediately entered into chorus mode. Even though many years had passed, and the youthful boys and girls were now middle-aged and elderly, and their sideburns were tinged with silver frost, they still firmly remembered the scene at the Beijing Workers' Stadium tonight. Even though the audience was still shouting encore. However, Lu Chen still chose to leave and gave the stage to the Tiger Cubs, because the latter were the real stars of the night. "Lu Chen, thank you." As soon as he returned backstage, Sister Li, who had been waiting there for a long time, gave Lu Chen a strong hug. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Sister Li, there's no need to be so polite with me." Sister Li was the one who invited Lu Chen to the Tiger Cubs concert tonight. Sister Li was one of Chen Fei's best friends, and also his friend. In addition to their personal friendship, Sister Li was also the manager of the Chen Fei Charity Fund. It was because of her conscientious work that the Chen Fei Charity Fund developed smoothly, so that the donated money could really be used for those who needed help. Currently, in the country, the Chen Fei Charity Fund's reputation had always been maintained at the top level, which was inseparable from Sister Li's serious and hard work. Moreover, she only received a nominal salary from the fund. Sister Li wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and said, "Then I won't say anything more. I'll send you back." Lu Chen shook his head, "Don't bother, I can go back myself." He knew very well how much effort Sister Li had put in for her only son, and how much hope she had put into him. Today, seeing Zhang Juanji standing confidently on the stage and singing loudly, he believed that it was a great satisfaction and happiness for her. How could Lu Chen let her send him back at this time? After saying goodbye to Sister Li, Lu Chen left the workers' sports complex and returned to his home in Purple Chengyuan. "You're back so soon." Hearing the door open, Chen Fei popped his head out of the study and asked in surprise, "The Tiger Cubs concert is over?" Lu Chen took off his coat and answered, "Not yet. I came back early after I finished singing, so that I wouldn't be surrounded when I left the venue." Chen Fei said with a smile, "I saw your singing video on the internet. Although the Tiger Cubs' first concert was not broadcast live, almost all the tens of thousands of audience members had mobile phones, so it was normal for them to record a few videos and upload them to the internet." Lu Chen smiled, "Those fans are very enthusiastic." Chen Fei rolled her eyes at him and said, "You still have the nerve to say that? Do you know that your blog is about to be blown up by people now?" "What?" Lu Chen couldn't help but be taken aback. "What happened? Did something big happen recently?" "Nothing much, except that the box office of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer exceeded 1.5 billion. But that was not enough to make the blog explode, was it? You will know after reading it." But the result made Lu Chen speechless. His blog was exploding because he was the guest of the Tiger Cubs concert that night, because countless fans were very angry about it. Even Lu Chen's students had held a concert, but he had not held a concert so far, nor had he revealed any information about it. It seemed that he had given up his singing career. Therefore, the resentment of the fans erupted, and they all left messages on his blog. Some complained, and some attacked. Thinking about it, it was time to give them an explanation. Chapter 856. In the 4 years since Lu Chen's debut, he has gone from an unknown part-time bar singer to the most popular film, television, and singing star in the country. The speed of his rise is astonishing. Whether it is music, TV series, or movies, he has achieved a series of dazzling results. He has released 2 record-breaking albums and filmed 3 record-breaking TV series. His first movie earned a box office of $1 billion, and his second movie created a new genre of domestic movies. The box office has exceeded $1.5 billion before it was released. Lu Chen's career development trajectory is very clear. From a singer to a TV series and a movie actor, and now he has even begun to direct his own works. He has climbed to the peak of life step by step. Lu Chen's fans are increasing. Among them, a group of hardcore fans have been following him since his debut and have been giving him full support. Most of these hardcore fans are Lu Chen's fans. Lu Chen's fans are very pure. Their love for Lu Chen stems from Lu Chen's original works one after another. They like Lu Chen's folk songs, Lu Chen's light rock, and Lu Chen's love songs, but these hardcore fans also have complaints about Lu Chen. That is, Lu Chen has not held his own concert so far. They always feel that there is a great flaw in the perfection. It is easy to say that a singer holds a concert, but it is not easy either. Not everyone is qualified to hold a real concert. At least, one needs to have their own fan team and their own works. Lu Chen has participated in several concerts, but either as a guest or as a platter. His live performance of 1 or 2 songs on a big stage obviously can't satisfy his fans. With his popularity and works, it is really a bit incredible that he has not held a concert in 4 years. As a result, many fans left messages on Lu Chen's blog, urging Lu Chen to hold a concert. This kind of inquiry began as early as a few years ago, and then there are more and more. Several fans even persisted in asking questions day after day. As long as Lu Chen's blog was updated, there would always be comments from them. When Lu Chen was shooting a movie, he asked when he was going to hold a concert. When Lu Chen was participating in an endorsement event, he asked when he was going to hold a concert. When Lu Chen and Chen Fei were showing off their love, he asked when they were going to hold a concert. Lu Chen had seen these comments on his blog more than once. He also felt very ashamed. It wasn't that he didn't want to hold a concert, but his work schedule had been too full these past few years. Filming TV series and movies took up too much of his time. It was difficult to squeeze out time to hold a concert. Most importantly, he did not want to hold his first concert casually, because music occupied a very special place in his life. He wanted to be worthy of his fans who supported him, and even more so, he wanted to be worthy of himself. In the end, it had been delayed again and again, and now it had finally been delayed. Lu Chen knew that it was time to give his fans an explanation, and now the time was ripe to announce it. Sitting in front of the computer and quietly thinking for a few minutes, Lu Chen opened the blog article editing software and typed out an official statement. During this period, he repeatedly revised it several times and even called Lu Shi to discuss it. At 10:27 p.m. on October 20th, Lu Chen updated his blog. As soon as this blog post of more than 500 words was published, it immediately attracted the attention of countless fans. The number of clicks and reposts in a short period of time almost set a new record for Wave's blog. In this blog post, Lu Chen first thanked all his fans for their support and love for him over the past 4 years. Then, in response to the complaints of his fans, he said that his first solo concert would be held on February 14, 2019, and at the same time, he would conduct a national tour. At present, it was tentatively scheduled in 7 major cities: Beijing, Shanghai, Hangzhou, Shenzhen, Shaoqing, Shancheng, and Hong Kong. Later, it would be adjusted according to the actual situation. But what was certain was that this time, the tickets would not be cancelled, and Shinfei Media would work with a number of partners to do the best in this national tour as a thank you and feedback to his fans for their consistent support. At the same time, Lu Chen's solo third album would also be officially released on January 1, 2019. Two heavy news smashed down in a row, and immediately caused a huge wave in the fan circle. This blog post was forwarded to forums, Tieba, QQ groups, and WeChat moments in a very short period of time. The blog comment area once again exploded, and a large number of messages were refreshed every second. Tears are streaming down my face. I've waited for this day. What the? There are still 4 months. I just want to know when the tickets will be pre-sold. It's simply unreasonable. Why is there no Jinling? The people of Xinqing express strong protest. The people of Chunqing protest together. The people of Haijiao are speechless. Lu Chen's blog post was to calm the resentment of his fans, but it attracted more complaints. But this was not a bad thing. After all, everyone hoped that his concert could be held at their doorstep. To be continued. Of course, everyone also knew that it was very unrealistic. In fact, now that Lu Chen had confirmed the time for the concert, it was already a great surprise, especially for Lu Chen's fans. Their long-awaited wish was finally satisfied. The only worry was that they might not be able to buy the concert tickets at that time. It was no exaggeration to say that if the tickets for Lu Chen's concert could be pre-sold now, it would be believed that they would be sold out in a few minutes, and there would be no need to worry about sales at all. Because Lu Chen's terrifying popularity was not created by grinding, but by the fans who had been waiting for too long. Once the expectations exploded, it would inevitably produce amazing power. In just a short span of 2 hours, the term Lu Chen's concert was pushed to the top of the hot topics on the homepage of Waves's blog. The number of forwards easily exceeded the million mark, and many people in the industry and celebrities, regardless of whether they knew each other or not, also forwarded it and sent their blessings. Tan Hong, congratulations, leave me 3 tickets. Liao Jia, haha, I want to be the mystery guest, that's for sure. Shifang, finally, this day has come. Although there are still a few months, I'm looking forward to it. Mu Xiaochu, congratulations, brother Lu Chen, don't forget to leave me a ticket. Lin Jijia, even the little tigers, who had just finished their concert, were the first to forward the blog, and Lu Chen, teacher Lu Chen, do you need people to do chores for your concert? Everyone's attention was suddenly focused on the problem of the tickets. Although it was just an announcement, and the specific location and venue had not been confirmed, it was completely foreseeable that the tickets would be in high demand. The official V of Shinfei Media took over this big problem and said that once the ticket pre-sale was opened, he would inform everyone as soon as possible. In addition, there would be a ticket lottery on the blog. As a result, the number of fans of the official V of Shinfei Media suddenly skyrocketed. Chapter 857. In the circle, when Lu Chen would hold a concert was a very interesting topic. Everyone knew that he was definitely going to hold a concert, but there was no movement for a long time. He was so happy shooting TV shows and movies that it inevitably made people wonder if he had forgotten this very important thing for a singer, and if he had completely abandoned his identity as a singer and turned to film and television. Many people even felt very regretful, because in the years since Lu Chen's debut, he has become a pillar of the domestic pop music world and brought a new trend of pop music. How lonely the pop music world would be without Lu Chen. And it turned out that Lu Chen had not forgotten that he owed all his loyal fans a concert. He still loved the music career and would release his third album. The new album that countless fans had been looking forward to for a long time. A new album and the first national tour. Did it mean that Lu Chen would fully return to the pop music world? Many people inside and outside the circle were eager to know the answer. The phones of Lu Shi and Lu Chen's assistant were blown up by media reporters, but they couldn't interview Lu Chen at all, because Lu Chen had gone abroad. After 7 hours and 15 minutes of flight, Flight K5789 from Beijing landed steadily on the runway of Malé International Airport in the Maldives. The full name of the Maldives was the Republic of the Maldives. It was located in South Asia, an island country in the Indian Ocean and the world's largest coral island country. It was composed of more than 1,200 small coral islands, 202 of which were inhabited. From a bird's eye view, it looked like a string of pearls scattered in the Indian Ocean. With a total area of 300 square kilometers, it was the smallest country in Asia. The Maldives was also a paradise for tourists and vacationers. The day after attending the Little Tigers concert in Beijing, Lu Chen left Beijing with Chen Fei and flew to the Maldives. The two would spend a sweet 7-day vacation in this beautiful island country. This vacation was not a spur-of-the-moment idea. It had been arranged a long time ago. From next month onwards, the two of them would be busy with work again. They would not have any free time until next June. The other 2 movies of the smiling, proud wanderer had to be finished. Chen Fei was going to hold a concert. Now, Lu Chen was going to hold a concert and release a new album. In addition, there were all kinds of endorsements and invitations to programs. Even during the Chinese New Year, she couldn't rest. Therefore, before his busy work started, he wanted to go out and have some fun. Malé was the capital of the Maldives, with an area of only 1.5 square kilometers, which was even smaller than some universities in the country. The population of 150,000 accounted for more than 40% of the country's population. Due to its small size, Males International Airport was not on the main island, but on Coral Lake Island not far away. When they got off the plane, they had already been arranged to receive them. Then, the two of them boarded a beautiful white seaplane and flew to their real destination. After a very short flight, a unique island appeared in his line of sight. Lu Chen said to Chen Fei, "This is Paradise Island. Let's go to the island in 2 days." Looking down at this pearl on the Indian Ocean from the air, it was completely different from what he saw in the movies. The natural beauty and magnificence were really dazzling. Paradise Island was one of the most famous tourist islands in the Maldives. There were many holiday villas on the island, and all kinds of entertainment facilities were very complete. It attracted a lot of tourists every year. Chen Fei raised her camera and took a few pictures of Paradise Island. This time, when she came to the Maldives for vacation, she specially bought the latest DSLR camera and prepared to record all the beautiful scenery of the island. Just like Lu Chen, Chen Fei was also in the Maldives for the first time. However, their destination today was not Paradise Island. The plane turned to the southwest and continued flying for a while. Another small island covered with coconut trees and surrounded by white beaches appeared. The seaplane did not land immediately. Instead, it circled around the island twice. Chen Fei had a surprising discovery. This island looks like a heart. It's so special. Lu Chen smiled. Do you like it? Yes. Chen Fei pressed the shutter of the camera and took dozens of pictures. She nodded her head and said with satisfaction, "It's so beautiful." The plane slowly landed on the pier of the island. After getting off the seaplane, there was an open beach in front of them. The white sand, the coconut trees, and the blue sea formed a picture that could be used as a computer wallpaper. A small yacht was docked on both sides of the pier. The distance between Males Airport and Paradise Island was only 10 kilometers, and this small island was only a few kilometers away from Paradise Island. They were very close to each other across the sea. A trail extended from the pier to the manor villa in the coconut forest. Other than the service staff who came to greet them, there were no other tourists. Chen Fei asked curiously, "Did you rent this island? What's its name?" Lu Chen gently pulled her into his arms and said, "I bought it. Its name is Angel." Chen Fei was completely dumbfounded. This trip to the Maldives was arranged by Lu Chen. She only knew that they were here for a vacation, but she never dreamed that Lu Chen actually bought an island. You're not kidding, right?" Lu Chen kissed her on the cheek and smiled. "Of course not. I bought it for you. It's a gift for our 3rd anniversary." Chen Fei's eyes instantly turned red. No woman could refuse such a gift of love. She was no exception. She didn't care that there were other people beside them. She hugged Lu Chen and kissed him passionately. She thought it was just a relaxing vacation, but it turned out to be a great surprise. Under the sea breeze, the two kissed for a long time before they reluctantly separated. Chen Feier's pretty face was flushed, and her eyes were so charming that water was about to drip out. Lu Chen took her hand and walked all the way to the villa. At the same time, he introduced the origin of the island to her. This angel island was not formed naturally. It was originally a very small island reef. Later, it was filled and expanded into the current scale pattern. It had an area of about 12 acres, with hundreds of meters of beach around the island, large vacation villas, cruise ship docks, and so on. It was also equipped with power generation and seawater desalination systems. Its original owner was a French businessman. He sold it because of the need for business funds. Lu Chen only learned about such an island for sale when he was chatting with Li Mubai. The latter had traveled around the world in recent years and had come to the Maldives more than once. Lu Chen also spent $27 million to buy this island through him. The price was not cheap, and the future maintenance was also very high, but it was nothing for Lu Chen. The hard-earned money naturally had to be spent. As long as the person he loved liked it. Chapter 858. Hand in hand, Lu Chen and Chen Feier walked on the path paved with colorful pebbles. They walked past the tropical flower garden and came to the main building of the manor. This man-made island didn't have a long history, but the previous owner undoubtedly spent a lot of effort to transform it. It was surrounded by coconut trees, and although the white European-style villa didn't have the heaviness of 100 years of accumulation, it still didn't lose its grand layout, and even more so had a modern and fashionable style. There was a gardener trimming the lawn in the garden. When he saw the two of them, he saluted respectfully. Angel Island was very small. Although it was very close to Paradise Island, daily maintenance was essential. There were more than a dozen people in charge of maintenance, such as chefs, gardeners, repairmen, and handymen. Most of them were natives of the Maldives, and they were managed by an English butler. When Lu Chen bought Angel Island, he also took in these maintenance and management personnel. Basically, they could speak English, so simple communication was not a problem. Far away from the mainland, and without the harassment of tourists, this island in the depths of the ocean was like a paradise. Especially for celebrities like Lu Chen and Chen Feier, it could be called a paradise of freedom. Of course, it was not completely free of harassment. For example, at this moment, a certain someone was standing at the entrance of the villa, wearing a checkered shirt, beach shorts, and had a beautiful young woman in his arms, grinning mischievously. "Brother Chen, you are finally here." He shouted loudly, let go of the beautiful woman, and rushed over in an exaggerated tone, "Feier, long time no see. You are getting more and more beautiful. Hug me." This guy actually opened his arms and hugged Chen Feier, who had a surprised look on her face. Bang! Lu Chen was quick-witted. He slapped the other party on the chest and pushed him away. "Get lost." The guy was Li Mubai. He contacted the French businessman and bought Angel Island. Then, this guy came here to enjoy himself in the name of inspecting the goods. Of course, Lu Chen did not have any objections. After he bought the island, he would not only use it as a vacation for himself and Chen Feier. In the future, his family and friends could come over to play. Anyway, the villa was big enough to accommodate dozens of people. I have internal injuries." Li Mubai took 2 steps back and covered his chest with a bitter expression on his face. "Chen Gu, I can't believe you would hit your own brother so hard for her." Lu Chen wanted to kick him again. "You read too many novels." Li Mubai chuckled and said to Chen Feier, who was covering her mouth to take credit, "Sister-in-law, are you happy with the gift Chen Gu gave you? Are you satisfied? I've contributed a lot to this." Chen Feier smiled and said, "Yes, I'm very happy and satisfied. Thank you." On the way here, Lu Chen told her that without Li Mubai's help, they could still buy it, but it would be more troublesome, and the price would be more than $27 million. Li Mubai represented the Li family. The Li family also had power and connections overseas, which was very useful in such a transaction. "We are family, don't be so polite." Li Mubai reached out and pulled the woman over, saying, "Sister-in-law, this is Xiaorui. She just graduated from college this year and wants to develop in the film and television industry. Please take care of her in the future." The woman was in her early 20s. She was petite and beautiful. Big eyes and an oval face. When she saw Lu Chen and Chen Feier, she was surprised and a little scared. "Sister-in-law, nice to meet you, sister-in-law. My name is Zhang Xiaorui, please take care of me." The couple Lu Chen and Chen Feier were too famous. For people like Zhang Xiaorui who intended to work in the entertainment industry, they were an existence that needed to be worshipped. Now that she had met them in person through Li Mubai's introduction, and she could even be taken care of, her mood could be imagined. "Just call me Sister Feier." Chen Feier smiled gently and asked Li Mubai curiously, "Since you want to enter the film and television industry, why did you look for me instead of your Chen Gu? He is much more capable than me now." Chen Feier was not being modest. What he said was completely true. In today's domestic film and television industry, Lu Chen had set up a very eye-catching flag, and had become the object of countless people's admiration. As long as he made a move, it would be a simple thing to make Zhang Xiaorui famous. Li Mubai coughed awkwardly and said, "I'm afraid that my sister. I'm going to Paradise Island with Xiaorui. I won't disturb Chen Gu and sister-in-law anymore. Talk to you later." After that, he hurriedly pulled Zhang Xiaorui away and took a speedboat to the nearby Paradise Island. Paradise Island was a tourist attraction. There were many tourists all year round. It was very close to Angel Island. If one felt lonely living here, they could go there to play. Not only there were luxury hotels, shopping malls, water parks, casinos, bars, and other recreational places. There were many fun places there. Lu Chen looked at Li Mubai's figure as he left, and he couldn't help but shake his head. "This guy." Chen Feier hesitated for a moment, but he still asked, "He changed his girlfriend again?" Lu Chen nodded. The last time he and Chen Feier saw Li Mubai, it was not Zhang Xiaorui beside this guy, but another beautiful girl. Speaking of which, when Lu Chen first met Li Mubai, the other party was a relatively pure second generation. Lu Chen also wrote a poem for him to help him chase his girlfriend. He did chase her, but later the two separated again. Li Mubai even suffered from emotional pain because of this, and his life became a lot more dissolute. He changed several girlfriends, but they were basically just for fun. Zhang Xiaorui was the same. Li Mushi was half angry about this, but there was nothing he could do. Putting aside his identity as a child of the Li family, Li Mubai had shares in the crowdfunding website. After it was listed on Nasdaq, the value was enough for him to eat, drink and play for a lifetime. Forget about him. Lu Chen reached out and put his arm around Chen Feier's waist and said, "You must be tired after flying for so long, right? Let's go rest first, and then take a good look at this island that belongs to you." Chen Feier glanced at him coquettishly, and her eyes were full of endless amorous feelings. The next night, Chen Feier's blog was updated, and in the new blog post, several photos of her and Lu Chen walking hand in hand on the beach were released. The accompanying text was very simple, just 4 words, "Thousands of miles away." Although they were all selfies, there was not much photography skill to speak of, and there was no PS modification. However, the background was matched with the beautiful scenery of Angel Island, so each photo was very colorful, and at the same time, it was a fierce show of love. Immediately, fans left a comment, showing off dog food thousands of miles away. Chapter 859. Since the relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Feier was officially announced, the two were undoubtedly the best couple in the entertainment circle in the eyes of their fans, and they gradually got used to Chen Feier showing off their love on the blog from time to time. For the fans, they hoped that this beautiful love could last forever and bear fruit. Therefore, in addition to the daily whining of the single dogs, most of them sent their blessings, likes, and envy. Among them were Chen Feier's friends in the circle. Several female stars were curious about the place where the photo was taken and left messages to ask. Then Chen Fei released another photo, a bird's eye view of Angel Island that she took in the seaplane. Chen Fei's photography skills were very average, and she used a mobile phone. The colors and composition of the photo were not good, but the blue sea surrounded the heart-shaped green island with white edges was enough to make people intoxicated. Of course, just one photo was not enough to make people too surprised. After all, there were many beautiful sceneries in the world. Celebrities would certainly choose scenic spots when they went on vacation. The heart-shaped island was very special, but it was not unique. What really shocked people was the content marked under the photo by Chen Fei. This island in the Maldives turned out to be a gift from Lu Chen to her, a gift for the 3rd anniversary of their relationship. This instantly blinded the eyes of countless people. I know that the two of you love each other very much, but isn't it too exaggerated to buy a small island in a holiday paradise as a gift for the anniversary of their relationship? There were many couples in the entertainment circle. Many gave their girlfriends a diamond ring and a sports car on their birthdays, and it was common for them to give their girlfriends a villa when they got married. But to give an island worth tens of millions of dollars, it was really beyond the imagination of most people. Therefore, there was no accident that it caused a sensation in the Waves blog. Not only did it quickly occupy the hot list of the blog's homepage, but it was also forwarded by many media and put on the entertainment headlines. Then soon there were people with great powers who dug out the origin of Angel Island, and according to the relevant information, it was estimated that the value of the island was about $30 million. $30 million, that was $200 million. The fans naturally cheered loudly, and the female stars in the industry were all envious, jealous, and hateful. It was inevitable that some people would say some sour words. Some people even felt very uncomfortable and posted that there were so many poor people in the world now, and many poor children needed help. Lu Chen actually spent $200 million on gifts. Why didn't he use the money for charity? There were many controversies when people were popular, especially top stars like Lu Chen and Chen Fei. Their every move was watched. Many people stared at them with magnifying glasses, looking for trouble. This weird comment was a columnist, who had published several books and had hundreds of thousands of fans on the blog. Most of his blog of Waves of the blog was a little famous. Most of his articles were comments on hot events, with a cynical style. He stood at the height of morality and accused Lu Chen, which aroused the resonance of many people. Coupled with the uproar of some people who were watching the fun, there were tens of thousands of forwards. In the end, it was like poking a hornet's nest. Countless fans who were infuriated by his comments flooded the comments section and scolded the columnist. The fans were not irrational. Last year alone, Lu Chen and Chen Fei donated a total of $350 million to the Chen Fei Charity Foundation, and the money was used to help poor sick children, especially children with leukemia. According to the announcement released by the Chen Fei Charity Foundation, as many as 3,000 poor sick children were helped by the foundation in 2017. All charity projects had public account information, and it was possible to trace the identity of each person being helped. It was truly open and transparent. Most importantly, Lu Chen's money was not obtained by swindling and cheating. He earned it with his own talent and ability. What's wrong with spending 200 million yuan to give gifts in an open and above-board way? This columnist was used to standing on the height of morality to criticize others, and he also had the idea of riding on the popularity. However, he did not expect the counterattack of Lu Chen's fans to be so fierce, and he was immediately overwhelmed. He deleted a large number of comments and pulled black people, while accusing Lu Chen's fans of being internet mobs. Very soon, someone exposed the scandal he had done, saying that he had donated money to poor children on a show last year, but in fact, he did not spend any money at all. Even the books he donated were unsaleable books that he had accumulated in his inventory, and these books were not suitable for children at all. The informant also listed the evidence and skinned him clean, attracting countless netizens to watch. As a result, the so-called author's reputation was instantly tarnished. He had no choice but to close his blog and play dead. Spending $27 million to coax his girlfriend. Lu Chen was woken up by the ringing of his mobile phone in the morning. When he picked up the phone, he heard Li Mushi calling from Beijing. She said in a sour tone, "It's really a big deal. The richest man in Lu, when will you help this little girl?" Last year, Lu Chen ranked first in the entertainment circle, so sometimes his friends joked with him and called him the richest man in Lu. Of course, compared with the real richest man, his wealth was still far from it. Li Mushi's teasing made Lu Chen not know whether to laugh or cry. "Sister Mushi, do you still need my help? I'm very poor now." Li Mushi said angrily, "It's all because of you, that bike sharing thing. I have to invest most of my money into it. I can't even buy a bag that's too expensive. How can it be compared to you throwing a few $100 million?" She said gloatingly, and I was scolded. Lu Chen was speechless. "Sister Mushi, are you scolding me this early in the morning?" He saw the debate on the blog, and Chen Fei regretted taking the initiative to burst it out. She was blinded by love and just wanted the world to see her happiness. "I'm helping you," Li Mushi said. "The guy who was chattering on the blog was beaten by me. Shouldn't you thank me?" Lu Chen suddenly realized that no wonder someone came out so quickly to expose the columnist. It was Li Mushi. "Well, I owe you a favor," Li Mushi said with a smile. "That's right. Leave a few rooms in your island villa for me. I'll bring a few friends over to play when I'm free. My room must be exclusive. I can't let others live in it. Also, tell this guy Mubai not to think that he'll be fine if he doesn't answer my call. Tell him to get back to Beijing immediately, or he'll be in trouble." What else could Lu Chen say? Of course, he could only agree to it all. Leaving a room was a small matter. As for Li Mubai, he had to let his family take good care of him. Chapter 860. Is that Musher? Lu Chen had just put down the phone when he heard Chen Fei's voice. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and asked in a daze, "What's the matter?" Lu Chen smiled and lowered his head to kiss her on the cheek. He said, "It's nothing serious. I just came here to extort money, and I was forced to leave a room here." Chen Fei was a lot more awake now. She opened her eyes wide and asked, "How did you owe her?" She suddenly understood. Is it because of the comments on the internet? Any media company or entertainment agency has a public relations media channel. Once there is negative news, the most important thing is to eliminate the impact in time. Chen Fei Media is no exception. Chen Fei Media has not been established for a long time, but it has always done a good job in this regard. The image of both Lu Chen and Chen Fei has been maintained very well. In the entertainment industry, where there is the most right and wrong, it doesn't mean that you can maintain your innocence if you are upright. If you don't have some means and ability, dirty water will be poured on you at any time. Even if the facts are clarified in the end, it will not be perfect again. The reason why Chen Fei Media is doing well, in addition to trying to establish a good relationship with the media, the help and support of the Li family is also indispensable. Anyone who wants to make trouble out of nothing has to think about it first. Therefore, Chen Fei immediately guessed that she was impulsive last night and underestimated the sensitivity of Lu Chen's purchase of the island. As a result, she was caught by others and attacked. Now that she thought about it, she felt a little regretful. It's all in the past. You didn't do anything wrong. Lu Chen felt her annoyance and comforted her with a smile. In fact, it's fine as long as we do things with a clear conscience. We don't have to worry too much about what others think. Otherwise, it will be too tiring to live. Moreover, we are here on vacation this time. The most important thing is to be happy. Chen Fei nodded. Suddenly, Lu Chen's big hand reached into her pajamas. Everywhere it went, it brought with it a familiar heat, making her tremble all over. Haven't you had enough? No, didn't you say we are going to Paradise Island today? Before she could finish her words, her lips were firmly sealed. She weakly struggled a few times before she was lost in Lu Chen's sudden burst of passion. It wasn't until noon that the fierce battle finally ended. Chen Fei's body was as limp as mud. Her pretty face was blushing, and her red eyes were blurred. She leaned in Lu Chen's arms and quietly enjoyed the aftertaste of passion. She was so lazy that she didn't want to move at all. After a while, Chen Fei murmured, "I really want to live like this forever." Lu Chen said, "If you want, I can accompany you." At this point, he had earned enough money that he wouldn't be able to spend it all in a few lifetimes. His career had also reached its peak, and it wouldn't be a problem for him to complete the rest of his work and retire. In the past, there was no lack of celebrities who suddenly retired at the peak of their career, leaving behind a legend. Chen Fei thought about it seriously, but she still shook her head and said, "I'll get tired of it. Let's talk about it in a few years." Lu Chen laughed and patted her hair. He knew that she was still reluctant to give up her career. But no matter what choice Chen Fei made, he would support her unconditionally. "Ah." Chen Fei's face suddenly changed. "I forgot. I'm not in my safe period." Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, then he laughed and said, "Don't worry about it. If we really have a baby, then we'll get married immediately." "I'm not marrying you." Chen Fei punched him angrily and said, "You only know how to be happy." Lu Chen pressed her under his body again and laughed, "Aren't you happy too? Let's do it again." Chen Fei couldn't help but beg for mercy. "I was wrong, please let me go." From last night to this morning, she had been tossed and turned. Her body was so soft that she couldn't even lift her body. Lu Chen laughed and said, "It's too late. Even if you scream your throat out now, ring ring ring." At this time, the phone on the bedside rang again. "Answer the phone." Chen Fei quickly pushed Lu Chen away, took the opportunity to get up and ran to the bathroom. "I'm going to take a shower." Lu Chen angrily picked up the mobile phone and answered, "Hello?" Li Mubai's familiar voice came from the phone, and he laughed, "Brother Chen, you haven't gotten up yet? It's noon. Pay attention to your health. Don't work so hard with sister-in-law. Get up quickly. I'll wait for you at Hotel Kara on Paradise Island. I won millions this morning." Lu Chen sneered, "You'd better take care of yourself. You're still in the mood to gamble. Sister Mushy just called and asked me to take you back to the capital. Your family has arranged a marriage for you. Be a good groom." "What?" Li Mubai was so shocked that his voice changed. "Brother Chen, don't scare me." Lu Chen snorted, "Scare you? If you don't believe me, ask her yourself." After that, he immediately hung up the phone and let Li Mubai worry about him. Who told him to disturb his fun? It's best to scare this guy and run away again. Then no one will disturb the two of them to spend a sweet and wonderful holiday together. That night, Chen Fei updated her blog again. She once again posted more photos of Angel Island. Not only the beautiful island and the beach, but also the interior of the villa. All the photos were taken with a DSLR, and the effect and clarity were very high. At the same time, she also announced that every year, 3 lucky couples will be selected from her and Lu Chen's fans to hold a wedding on Angel Island. All the expenses, including the round-trip tickets, will be covered by Chen Fei Media. As soon as this blog post came out, it immediately caused a new sensation on the blog. The fans of the two were all shocked. They had never seen a star so generous to his fans. To hold a wedding on a private island in the Maldives, it would cost at least hundreds of thousands of yuan. 3 couples added together is not a small amount. To have the opportunity to go to the place shared by Lu Chen and Chen Fei, a real romantic place to complete the most important ceremony in life, it will definitely be a beautiful memory that will never be forgotten. The fans' likes and reposts reached a crazy level in the blink of an eye, and the comments were countless. "What a beautiful island villa. I really want to go there once. What about those who are already married? Can they get married again? Begging for girls to get married, the opportunity will not come again." Single dogs said that they have been hurt by 10 million points. Begging to get single next year to participate in the lottery. So happy. The heated discussion of these fans made the original criticism on the internet disappear. Lu Chen and Chen Fei put aside all the work and worries and enjoyed the warm time that belonged to the two of them. Chapter 861. Lu Chen woke up when he heard the sound of waves in the distance. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the ceiling decorated with plasterboard. The classical European patterns were cleverly pieced together, delicate and elegant. The floor-to-ceiling window connected to the balcony in the bedroom was open. The sea breeze blew through the door and window, bringing the smell and sound of the sea, as well as the warm and bright sunshine. It took Lu Chen a few seconds to remember that he was on vacation with Chen Fei on a small island in the Maldives. He couldn't help but reach out to touch it and found that the other side of the bed was empty. "You're awake?" At this time, Chen Fei walked into the bedroom with a silver plate and said with a smile, "Just in time for breakfast. Try my cooking." There was milk, fried eggs, toast, bacon, and so on the plate. The aroma of the hot food was tempting. Lu Chen couldn't help but move his index finger and immediately sat up. He was not in a hurry to wash up. He first ate the breakfast that Chen Fei made. He was satisfied. As soon as he finished eating, Chen Fei thoughtfully gave him a clean hot towel. Lu Chen took it and wiped his mouth. Then he grabbed her and held her in his arms. Chen Fei smiled and said, "Don't be naughty. It's time for you to exercise." Lu Chen held her in his arms and said with a long sigh of relief, "I don't want to move anymore." The past few days on Angel Island were undoubtedly the most enjoyable period of his life. He left all his work and ignored the disturbances of the outside world. He quietly enjoyed the time that belonged to the two of them on this small island far away from the hustle and bustle of the world with his beloved. In the morning, he woke up naturally, or had a morning passion, ate some breakfast, exercised, sat on the balcony and read a few pages of books, or went fishing on the small pier. The morning passed quickly. At noon, he took a nap, got up and went to the beach to bask in the sun or swim. After dinner, he strolled on the island or lit a bonfire to sing and dance. Sometimes he snuggled up to each other and enjoyed the bright Milky Way in the night sky. Unfortunately, the better the time was, the shorter it seemed. They would go back in one day. Although they had the right to be willful, they were not that willful after all. Let's look forward to our next visit. On October 29th, Lu Chen and Chen Fei left Angel Island and flew back to the capital from the Maldives. At the same time, the first song of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, was officially released in all the cinemas across the country. The total box office was $752 billion, and it became the top box office of this year's domestic film. Although there was still 1 month to go, the industry generally estimated that The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was already the champion, because it was unlikely that the domestic movies released in November and December could break the record. In addition, the peripheral sales of The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman were 265 million yuan, which added up to 2 billion yuan. This did not include the copyright sale of The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman at the Shanghai International Film Festival and the brand authorization. The profits were so high that many people were green with envy. The profit of The Smiling, The Proud Martial World could be calculated. 752 billion in box office meant about 800 million in profit. After deducting the cost of 300 million, there would still be 500 million in net profit. The 265 million could be earned back, almost 200 million from the peripheral sales, 150 million from the copyright sales, and nearly 100 million from the brand licensing. On this movie, Chen Fei Media could calculate that the profit was as high as 1 billion, which was more than 3 times the investment. Because the profits were so high, with The Smiling, The Proud Martial World being released, there was another craze for martial arts movies in the industry. Several film companies had frozen their projects because of the failure of martial arts movies in the summer, but now they were put on the production schedule again. The value of martial arts novels, especially the popular martial arts novels, skyrocketed. The ups and downs made people sigh at how fast the trend changed. Outside the circle, The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman brought a new trend of martial arts. This trend of martial arts should be said to have started when The Smiling, the proud martial world was selling like hotcakes in the morning. Later it was hyped up by Young Jianghu, but because of the box office failure of Young Jianghu, it quieted down. Now the smiling, the proud martial world was a great success. Many fans, especially young fans, were aroused to love and yearn for martial arts. The market was very sensitive. Many martial arts schools took the opportunity to advertise. Those that didn't have martial arts before all added the content of martial arts, taking advantage of the popularity of martial arts to recruit students. What's more, some so-called martial arts masters and martial arts grandmasters appeared one after another. In the beginning of November, several popular videos began to circulate on the internet in China. Among them, the most clicked and reposted video was of a Tai Chi master. In the video, this master, who was in his 50s or 60s, demonstrated his martial arts. Under the siege of more than a dozen strong students, he defeated them with a wave of his hand. Whenever those students touched his body, they were bounced back, and some even fell to the ground in a sorry state. With the popularity of martial arts, this video immediately caused a heated discussion among countless netizens. Damn, is this the legendary internal energy? Is there really such a magical martial art? My grandpa also practices Tai Chi, but it's just for fitness. It's so fake. Can you guys practice your acting skills a little more? It can't be fake. Maybe he has real skills. It's a miracle. In addition to the video of this master, the other videos were almost the same. There were performances of breaking stones on one's chest, drilling one's head with an electric drill, splitting bricks with bare hands, running over one's body, and so on. So some fans forwarded the video and tagged Lu Chen on his blog, asking about the authenticity of the video. Lu Chen was the creator of martial arts, and he also made a martial arts film like The Smiling, the Proud Martial World. In the eyes of his fans, he was very authoritative in this aspect. Lu Chen returned to the capital at the end of last month. He stayed there for a day and participated in an endorsement event. After that, he flew to Ningxian to continue the shooting of The Smiling, the Proud Martial World. However, Lu Chen also noticed the recent appearance of these videos on the internet. In response to the fans' inquiries, he straightforwardly replied, "Hard skills can be trained. Nigong is a novelist's word. As for the performance of using real strength to resist people, that is a liar." Because of Lu Chen's influence, all the media reported it with the title, "Lu Chen thinks Tai Chi masters are liars." Soon, there was a lot of controversy on the internet. And several masters, who were named, were extremely angry. They refuted Lu Chen through their own blogs, saying that Lu Chen ignored the facts and disrespected his predecessors. They even wanted to teach Lu Chen a lesson. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.